7 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. The first thing on our agenda tonight will be some old business that Darren is going to brief us on. We have a reconsideration for the Sunshine Meadows preliminary plat. We do not have minutes to review. Sorry. We will catch those next time.
So we had a workshop a couple of weeks ago to actually reconsider rehearing Sunshine Meadows plat due to findings that was made for that. And I would ask for a motion to reconsider hearing that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we reconsider the Sunshine Meadows preliminary plat. Is there any discussion?
What's the findings for wanting to reconsider?
So the findings that were originally made, most of them were opinion-based and they need to be fact-based. Like, I can give you, for instance, let me find it. One of the findings was that the infrastructure, the water lines wouldn't hold that many houses, and he had a hydronics test done stating that he would bring those water lines up to date. So we've got to take the facts of that and put them into play versus just saying that it won't work.
Okay.
And there was some other findings that was done. And like I explained, the preliminary plat is basically a point to get to where he comes for approval for the final plat. And in between the preliminary and the final, there can be a list of not really conditions, but questions that he has to provide when he brings that final plat in. Like the engineers will do storm runoff surveys and come up with a storm runoff plan for everything. So that was one of the findings that was made, that the storm runoff wouldn't work. Well, we don't know if it'll work or not because there wasn't facts put on that.
Any other questions or discussions? All right. Well, all those in favor of reconsideration of the Sunshine Meadows preliminary plat, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
So the motion carries.
That's all I've got.
All right. So the next thing on the agenda is kind of new business. If you recall, we had a motion brought during our last meeting regarding a ban on solar. We are going to initiate the solar discussion here in this meeting. So basically, we pushed pause on that motion, and we're going to restart that discussion this evening. Just bear in mind, it has been, I'm going to have Daniel restate it, but it has been moved and has been seconded. The place we are in the meeting is the discussion of that motion. So just for the audience's benefit, there will be no public input during this time. This is normal SOP, normal S, that's redundant, it's SOP, standard operating procedures, as far as the discussion is concerned, is amongst the members of the committee. So, Daniel, just for the sake of refreshing our memory, if you could restate your motion, and we will dive into that discussion.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how I said it, but it was something along the lines of I make a motion to put a ban on industrial solar for the county.
All right. So that was, as I said, moved and seconded. And now we will enter into the discussion phase. We've been talking about this topic for a long time. And what say you?
So what are your findings for that?
My findings are that I think the public has spoken and we're all servants of the public. And that's, I feel like the survey that for the, help me out here.
The forum or?
No,
The
the
original comprehensive plan?
comprehensive plan. There you go. Sorry, I was at loss for that.
That's okay.
I think the comprehensive plan is inaccurate in stating that the county was in favor of solar, and that is what we're basing a lot of our regulations on. And I think the public has been very vocal that they are not in favor of it. And I think we wouldn't even have got to this point if we would have got accurate information into the comprehensive plan to begin with.
So Dave, why do you think that there wasn't accurate information in the comprehensive plan? Let's see, you and Rich were both on that, right?
Now,
What?
I think we've heard from most people that it was misunderstood. The question was misunderstood.
The question said commercial or industrial.
Right, but it was misunderstood. I don't think that people were aware of really what we're talking about. The wind did take the forefront. That was up on top of everybody's list. They were aware of it. I don't think they were aware of the solar. So I agree with Daniel. I don't think we really got the true public input on that. Now that isn't actually part of the comprehensive plan, but it supports the comprehensive plan. I think prohibition also supports the comprehensive plan, and that plan clearly states people of this county want to maintain the clear open spaces, the rural beauty of the county. And I don't think you can do that with solar.
Rich,
Well, I was looking at the survey results. The question was solar panel commercial development and then campus sticker. There were 37.63 favorable, almost 40% favorable. 27.96 not favorable, so close to 30% not. 14.16 had no opinion, and 20.25% wanted more information. So it's mixed. I mean, I wouldn't say that Linn County didn't want it. I think what they really were saying, they want more information.
How does,
What's the difference in the folks' opinion here? I know they have to state on fact, but there's a difference between commercial and industrial. Is that correct? Commercial would be to build a plant to sell. To me, an industrial would be an industry that moves in, sets up, has their own solar system on their own property. That, to me, that's industrial. Or a commercial would be what we have coming in. One
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know the true definition, the delineation between it, but the example I would give, someone wants to move in the industrial district in Linn County and build a business here, and they want to put solar panels on their roof to do it. I got absolutely no problem with that. They want to support some of their electric needs through solar. That, in my mind, is completely opposite of taking 8,000 acres of land and building industrial solar on it. So whether you call it, so I guess to that point, maybe my motion would need to be rephrased somehow, but I don't know how to phrase it in that way, because in that, to your point, I have no issues with that at all.
So you're saying rooftop, basically, solar is commercial? Is that what this
Well, I don't even mind if they own land right here as part of their industrial development, and it doesn't even have to be rooftop. But they want to set up some solar panels on it, no different than if a house wants to set solar panels to support their needs. I have no issues with that.
Currently, even if it is a commercial area, as long as the person is using more than 50% of the solar power, that is considered domestic. And we don't handle
Yeah, okay. So even if it's a
that.
business,
Yeah.
Right. So
Even if it's an industry?
the definition we put in here was 51% or greater for off-site use. Was how we define commercial solar energy conversion systems. Convert sunlight into usable electricity for the primary, i.e. 51% or greater purpose of sales or off-site use.
that's considered commercial.
That is considered,
Right.
Okay.
So I would agree, an industrial use case for self-consumption, I think is a different altogether. I mean, I think what we're intending to discuss is off-site sales as a power provider, primarily, not rooftop or something taking up land use.
I think we're all on the same page there. Then, yes.
And another issue we've been battling with, and that's the foreign-owned situation. These companies that are applying, will be applying for companies, supposedly are foreign-owned, is that correct? From France, and that's been told in here a number of times.
Well, that's been told, but Clearway is not foreign owned.
We'd like to clarify if you could,
Right.
please.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm just, I've looked up Clearway on here. I don't see that. What they say that EDF is. So,
I thought the gentleman that spoke for Clearway had mentioned that they were owned by France.
no, that's the EDF. Isn't it?
My understanding from the my memory from the discussions with both companies in question, ultimate parent company was not a United States-based company. But I'm basing that off of my memory. I would have to dig it up again if it were.
That's what I understood.
So,
I venture to guess Electric de France, EDF, probably owned by the French. Clearly, I don't know. I'm guessing they're incorporated in Delaware, and which would lead me to believe that they're probably a foreign-owned company.
or Costa Rica or something. Anyway. Back to the survey though. What then, this is just to throw this out there question, what do we do with, the tallied results from the public forum that, we talked about in our last meeting? What do we do with that information in contrast to the information that we had before from the public, from the comprehensive plan? How do we process and digest that set of information as well? What meaning do you give that?
Well, I think if you live in Linn County and you didn't know about the public forum at Lacine, you either live under a rock or you just don't care.
Or the people that didn't come because they didn't want to be threatened or anything. I heard that from quite a few people.
They were welcome to write a letter and not speak.
They didn't want their name out there.
Well, I can't help it that people don't want their name out there.
Actually, since we put Mr. His article in the paper, what he wrote, Chamberlain, we've had people call us and they want that because and these are people who want to use it, because that's how they feel about landowners' rights, but they didn't feel like they needed to come to that meeting because they thought it was just something for them to get picked on if they came because they've seen other people get picked on and that's true.
I don't think anyone got picked on in that meeting.
No, they've got picked on
Well,
Facebook.
Let's just stick to we had hard numbers. They are what they are. We did our best along with the county commissioners to publish that meeting. My question is, what do we do with that information?
We had the conversation many months ago about, well, we even went to the commissioners and said, we want you to either put it on a ballot or do a scientific survey, I think was the word that we used.
Right.
And they basically came back to us and said, no, we're not doing that. Keep doing what you're doing. We've given you direction. That's basically how it went from what I remember. So if we can't use the results of the public forum to support our case, then I think a vote or a scientific survey is needed.
I agree with that.
If we can.
I don't know why we can't.
I
mean, I think, to answer the question, I think we have to update the comprehensive plan every year. I think we may need to consider that information we gained from that meeting, similar to what we learned in the survey for the comprehensive plan, updating the plan.
I feel like the public forum was more advertised than the comprehensive plan was.
Absolutely it was, yeah.
My opinion, I think we got a better scientific survey of the county based on that public forum than what we did sending out the comprehensive plan survey.
In my view, the group that's opposed to solar farms is very well organized. I mean, they are really, they're efficient and they're good. They are really, really good. And the people that, in my mind, people that don't care or would vote for it, there's no organization, there's no leader. They just didn't coalesce. So we don't. I'm with Daniel on this. I mean, I think that if we just went on the forum, it's overwhelming what we heard. They're against it. But did we really hear from all the residents? The only way we're ever going to figure that out, truthfully, is to either have a vote or do a scientific study.
I think the same.
We should even do that.
We went way overboard in communicating this to the county.
Right.
So the people that were for it had every opportunity to organize and to speak for it.
Right.
I mean, it was on the front page of the paper, it was on signs, it was on Facebook. I mean, any other public meeting we've ever had, this beat it by 100 times as far as information to the people of the county. So that tells me, whether they're, just because they're not organized doesn't tell me that there may be some out in the county that are for it. It tells me there's not enough passion there for people that are for it to get organized because they knew about it. We
That's
let
the
them
key.
know.
It's the passion about the issue. And I'm not sure we're here to vote based on passion.
No, but certainly the numbers are overwhelming. You can make all kinds of arguments that maybe 10 or 15 people didn't show, but the numbers are overwhelming. 212 people there and 175 were against it. I mean, that's overwhelming. And everybody in the county had an opportunity to be there.
Last meeting, when we were discussing the Meadows, Mike Page's deal, it was stated before we took a vote that I don't hear anyone here speaking for it. Everyone came in here and just spoke against it, and that's why I'm going to vote against it. I don't know how you can apply it to that and not apply it to the same situation that we're in right now.
And you can't.
Corrected on that, because that's an opinion.
And that's also
Not
why
a
we
That's why we're
relook
reconsidering
at
it, because you can't consider it that way.
Understand. I just like to point it out.
So the question is on findings. We first have findings about the number of people, and that doesn't stand up in court. It really doesn't. That's not one of the best findings in the world. The other finding is, what was it? Oh, the scenic character of the
It
county.
doesn't fit with the comprehensive plan. That's a finding. That does stand up in court.
Nice.
I don't think anyone sitting at this table is a lawyer, so I don't think we should debate on what stands up in court and what doesn't. Because I'm sure I could find someone that would debate you on that.
think-
That's not me, though.
I did, well, one, Mr. Harding is available to us tonight. I called him and talked to him this afternoon, and he said he would make himself available if we had specific questions. One of my specific questions was, I don't know how this is going to move forward. We are not lawyers. The last time we did this, we had Mr. Kopp at our disposal. And so I specifically asked him, do we have to flesh out the findings based on this motion and this vote tonight? And his response to me was no. That can be part of what will be the ongoing process, depending on what happens, if we're able to, come up with a vote. So I only say that to take the pressure off to a degree, because we have been talking about this issue for over a year. We've heard all kinds of discussion. This motion, I believe, is as much taking our own pulse and what we feel like we can competently recommend to the commissioners. As much as that's just kind of the way I'm thinking of it. I don't think, my understanding in my conversation with Mr. Harding today, and you don't have to take my word for it, your guys' job is to call me out. My job is to make sure the meeting stays on track. So don't take my word for it if you don't want to. But my point is, there's no pressure for us to be lawyers tonight and get all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. I believe what we're doing is the momentum going a particular way? And if the momentum is going a particular way, are we at a point where we can take a vote on that and the process will continue left or right, depending on that vote? So I only say that because we're not lawyers. We make recommendations to the best of our ability, and it's an iterative process, and that's okay.
So the process, the way I understand it, Darren, correct me if I'm wrong here. If there's a vote tonight, and let's say this motion passes tonight, the next step would be to take it to public hearing. And there's a public hearing on that, then it comes back to this committee, reconsideration after public hearing.
Well, we consider whatever's said at the public.
Yeah, right. So if there's reconsideration or not, based on what you hear at the public hearing, at that point, if it's not changed, you go to the county commissioners with it, and that's when you go with your findings.
Yeah, you've got up until, we've got to take the findings to the commission. So we have from now until whenever that public hearing is, and after, whenever there's a final vote made on the decision, because you'll have to vote again after the public hearing, because
Right.
because there'll be findings at the public hearing. And then we'll put the findings together, make the final vote, take it to the commissioners. So after the public hearing, there's no time frame that we have to take it to the commissioners. We can have as many workshops or as many public meetings as we want to get to that point to take to the commission.
I can't remember who brought it up. It may have been Mark, at one of the meetings in the ad hoc, I think, about findings for prohibition. And it was stated, you can take all the findings that we did for wind and replace wind with solar, and every one of them fits. And I remember we read every single one of them. And I tend to agree that if we're, I don't remember what all they were, but I remember at that time, if you just replace that word wind with solar, they all fit. And it was a lot about the beauty of the county and the comprehensive plan around that.
Right. That was the primary argument. And I mean, I have my own opinion and, I haven't really said much along the way, but, I've been studying solar for a long time, apart from any commercial stuff, because, it's one of my pipe dreams is to go off grid and all that good stuff. And so, and I've been in the IT world for a long, long time, and I just like gadgety stuff. And so the solar stuff was cool to me. And to be honest, I was pretty ambivalent most of the time because I wasn't afraid of the technology. But a couple of things really convinced my mind that this is not the best for Linn County, and I wanted just to make mention of those things. One was the tour. I just didn't grasp the vastness of the potential of what might, be out there. And the other, this is, you all don't know me very well. This is almost a little more philosophical, but I'm going to lean hard on the rural character because I had to ask myself, why am I here? I've been here literally 10 years this month. And, why did I spend most of my savings to build a house and to move out here and to do all that? Why did I do that? And just TMI, but, I built my house running this way. There's a huge picture window on this side, and there's a huge picture window on this side. I can watch the sunrise and I can watch the sunset. And it's just, it's a place to be. And that rural character, that what do I want to involve myself in? Who do I want to be with? The people I want to be around. I want to value that. And what helped me a lot too was to put it in a completely different context. I used to live in Denver for 11 years, and just being around, you talk to real estate agents and stuff. There's always one question when you're coming into an area like that: is there a view? Is there a view of the mountains? That's a make or break question on a sale of a home in the Rocky Mountains. And just to put it, this is the way I kind of view these things. Imagine in your $1.5 million home on the west side of Denver, by some crazy fluke of government, whatever, there's suddenly acre and acre of black mirrors between you and the eastern foothills of the Rocky Mountains. That to me is what it would be like, because to me, if you're familiar with the Rocky Mountains, that's unthinkable. It's just unthinkable. It would never happen. There would be riots. And so to me, it's like that verbalizes what I think I would feel. If somebody at my house put up a Topgolf range on the east side so that what I saw was a giant white net instead of the sunrise, that would significantly take away the value of an intangible asset that I can't put a price on. That there's a whole lot of words to talk about rural character. And the more I thought about this, the more I just can't make it fit. I cannot make it fit in the reasons that I'm here, and I have to presume the reasons that other people are here. So I can't put facts and figures to that. I can't put a dollar figure on an intangible asset like rural character, but I know what it feels like. I know what it would feel like to have that taken away from me. And so I am hopeful that there is some sort of win-win economic development situation that doesn't have such a high price and is something that will benefit everyone in the county. So that's my 2 cents. That's why I just have have come to the conclusion myself that I can't support it.
So I'll put my 2 cents.
This
I know a
is-
lot of people
we are
here,
all on the same platform
I
here.
know a lot of people here think I'm for solar. What I'm really for is landowners' rights. And I think Mr. Chamberlain's letter, I think Teresa Thomas at the forum put that across, that other people have rights too in the county, not just the people that come out to the meeting. Other people have rights to say, hey, I may lose my family farm, but if I put solar panels on part of it, I won't lose my family farm. And I think that that's where I come from, is landowners' rights.
Yeah.
And I think we're taking away half the people probably in Linn County's landowners' rights. And that's what we have to weigh out, is how we're doing that. The other thing is, as I watched the quarry meeting on Monday, it reminded me of exactly why that area over there is considered, I mean, industrial. It is industrial. It has been industrial because the power plant is there. When we toured, we went by Mark's house. There's the power plant. That's not really what I call the scenic beauty of Linn County. That's the power plant there. And that's the reason that that area had always been zoned industrial, hadn't been mined. And so that's something to consider, is that area, the quarry is what really brought that up to me when I heard somebody say, let's see, well, when the first quarry moved in over there were only 2 people living here. But now we shouldn't have the second quarry because now there's 21 people living here. And why did 19 people move in there when the other quarry was already there and now they don't want a quarry? I mean, to me, it's like, there's an area for industrial. That's what had always been considered industrial through the planning commission during all this time. And now we're saying it can't be industrial anymore. So those are the 2 things that I look at. I look at landowners' rights because I think everybody's got rights, not just the people who don't want it by their place. I think that that's an industrial area. You can't look at the stacks over there and say it's not industrial.
The stacks don't run 5 miles down the highway.
You could see them 5 miles.
I
You can
think,
see them 20 miles.
personally, I think
And you can see.
the plant's beautiful. It's
how I
brought
know
so
where
many
my
jobs to this
accident is.
county and so much money to this county. I love that place. Every time I drive by it, I see dollar signs coming out that stack.
Support the lot.
Absolutely right. This county wouldn't be what it is without that power plant. So, and the solar's nothing compared to that.
I made this comment Monday when we had the workshop, but yes, yes, it's zoned industrial or it's slated for industrial development, whether it's zoned that or not, as far as the comprehensive plan is concerned. But I don't think that means any and all industrial. I don't think that means you have to take all comers. And my opinion is that the broader impact, just literally square acres wise, of that versus, a company that brings a warehouse in, takes up a couple miles of highway space and has, trucks coming and going and a parking lot full of employees in that same area, that has less of an impact than several square miles of solar panels, as far as trying to strike a balance between what we've said is our core values in our comprehensive plan versus the yin and yang core value of we need to make money. So to me, there's other kinds of industrial development that can go into that area that wouldn't have the same impact as the acreage would in a solar farm. That's just my 2 cents. So.
Basically, Daniel's motion is to ban industrial solar farms. I will vote no against that because I think the landowners of Linn County have a right to make money on their land in any way that's legitimate. And I think that's a big argument, whether it's legitimate use or not. I would argue that having a solar farm is legitimate, and I would differ with you. The windmills I mean, you see those things for miles and miles away. But folks, those solar panels, the height is 15 foot. And we've got good regulations to hide them behind shrubs and trees and that sort of thing. I mean, they're not gonna be the visible impairment that the windmills have. So landowners' rights, and Paul, your rights end right where your neighbor's rights start.
Yeah.
So it's a tough argument, but landowners' rights. The other thing that I've referred to many times is in our vision plan for the future comprehensive plan, which I was a part of. It has 6 values, and the 2 most important ones are protecting the natural beauty and open space that make our county special. Having solar panels can compromise that, but I think we did highly regulated rules to make sure that we minimized or mitigated that concern. The other one was pursue multiple revenue sources to support the county services. You know, we just can't be turning down opportunities for this county to make revenue. This is a legitimate one that's raising revenue. No, you're right, Daniel, it doesn't bring in the kind of money that the power plant does, but it will make a difference. So that's why I'll vote no on this issue.
The landowner rights is a tough one. My neighbor puts up a solar field and reduces my property value. What are my rights?
And most studies that I've seen say that the value of the property goes down slightly, about 2% for a short period of time, but then rises back up with the revenue
You
value.
need to dig into those surveys,
I have.
because those surveys are done
By solar companies?
broadly. Rich, you can't tell me if a solar.
Well, and vice versa.
From your house, it's gonna go down 2%. If it goes in next door to Paul, it's gonna go down 2%. That's crazy.
That's your opinion.
But personally, I don't think we're gonna change, if someone's mind's made up, I don't think we're gonna change it by discussing here. So I think we should just vote, see where we sit and
Just want to make sure everybody had
But here's
opportunity.
the other thing, we've said this from the very start, before we even started going into regulations. We need to have a vote on this or a scientific study.
Right, I agree with that.
We said that from the beginning, and I'll say it again today.
I was satisfied with the public forum as far as the taking the pulse of the county.
You fit your narrative.
Elizabeth, Eddie,
I think scientific study ought to go.
Ed, you want to go first?
Something like that or something, so, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
That'd be it.
You know, when this first came about, the solar deal, you know, we looked at all the acreage that was going to be involved in it and everything, and, you know, 1% didn't seem like too much and stuff like that. I also started asking questions. How many people is it going to employ? Maybe 10 at the most. Maybe 10. We have a power plant up there that's, what, around 200 people? There's a big difference. And I know all the people that work at the power plant aren't Linn County people, but they're surrounding neighbors. I traveled a lot in my younger days putting up smokestacks at power plants. Oh, back then, there wasn't much pollution control. And you got some pretty good dirty looks from people when they found out what you was doing. But over time, they got creative and started getting this under control. I traveled for a few years after I left Lacine. When I came here, I didn't have a wife. When I left the Lacine, I had a wife. So I met a gal from Linn County here and married her. Took her on the road with me for a few years. And I was getting to the age where I needed to find a little easier job. And she asked, where we going? And I said, I'm going back to Linn County. I like that little county. Not much there. You got to travel to make a decent wage. But I like Linn County, what it has to offer. Peace and quiet. See the stars at night. Now, when we first started this solar study, I was thinking of going with it. And then we went down and seen the solar farm, small solar farm. I was pretty impressed with what I saw. I'm not against small solar farms. Now, when we get creating these big farms, taking up all this land and that, now, they aren't supposed to be taking any croplands or anything like that. Was my understanding. Unusable land. Pasture land that's full of rocks. Was my understanding. And then we took a tour. We seen a lot of this land that they was going to take. I'll tell you what, I could see a lot of croplands that were going to go to waste if we let the solar farms come in. Now, some people could say, well, they had strip mining. Yes, they did. You know, they looked pretty ugly when they got done. Now they came in and cleaned it all up, got some pretty nice fishing areas and things like that. So, you know, for a long time, when we first started this, I was thinking, yeah, solar farms could be okay, but not when they're going to employ 10 people.
So can I ask a question? So with that, aren't we supposed to not only look, oh, we're supposed to only look at land use, right? Not how many people, not how much money it's gonna make. We're supposed to look at the use of the land. Is that correct?
In general, yeah, our job is to manage land use. I mean, it's always going to be part of the conversation. I don't know how it can't be, but it's not. My understanding is that it's not to be a major decision factor. You know, given two equal projects, this one makes a lot of money, this one, you know, doesn't make any money. If the land use is the same, 200 square foot warehouses on 5 acres or whatever, you know, to us, they in general should look the same as far as a land use decision is concerned. But I don't think we can, it's got to come up. I mean, it's part of the conversation. It's just not our primary job to make decisions based on economic viability. But
So just to go back to landowners' rights. So when Ed was talking about the people that have leased it, we don't know that anyone's going in there, but the people that have leased it, that had the crops on the, do they not have the right to do that?
You know, a person can do anything they want to with their own property. They're paying taxes on it, they're buying it, they can do whatever they want to do. Well, what about the surrounding neighbors?
Isn't that where the planning commission comes in, where we try to make it so that people can get along, but you can put buffers and all that, so that you aren't seeing it? I mean, you know, you just said that they have the right to do that with their property, but they don't because the neighbors don't want it.
I have a problem with, I understand the landowner's rights too. It's a fine line. I think it's easy to cross that line when the majority of the land is not owned by people that live in Linn County, regardless of the fact that they own it. They don't have a house on it. They don't have to look at it. And you are the landowner rights for the person that has a house planted there and has to look out their window, like Paul said, and look at what's surrounding them, to me, plays a bigger part than someone who does not live in the county that bought up land hoping to lease it out. And that's where, in my opinion, understanding both sides of the landowner's rights, that's where I lean the other way.
I mean, that's why we have this discussion. That's our job, is to strike that balance. That's our job, is to, not make everybody happy. But, it's my personal conviction that that approach to land use is fundamentally flawed in regard to our comprehensive plan. I mean, the example I've used with other people before is, yes, I have the right to do anything I want with my land. So I want to put a bar, I live at the top of the hill, 1850 and 1095. I want to put a bar there. And there's going to be music and dancing and all kinds of stuff till 2 a.m. Why can't I do that? It's going to be loud. There's going to be cars coming and going. I would never do that because I like my neighbors. They're awesome. And I wouldn't do that because it would, till 2 a.m. in the morning.
No, because,
My point is, it's an extreme example, but my point is, I don't have actually the right to do anything I want because there are some things that I might want to do that cross the line.
but if you were gonna do that, you should come to the planning, and they would say, no, you're not gonna have music till 2 a.m. in the morning. No, you're not gonna do this.
Right. So
Because you're not zoned for commercial.
Right.
Yeah.
anyway, you understand my point. I mean, you could throw extremes in any direction, but I think some of us are just convinced that that approach to land use is fundamentally flawed. But that's why we're having this talk. So, Eddie, were you able to speak your piece?
Yep.
Really
No pressure. I just.
Yeah, sure. I really do see both sides. And also, where I live, I will never have to deal with solar panels next door. I just won't. Because I'm surrounded on all sides by my family. And that's just not something we would probably do. And so, this decision won't ultimately affect me. It'll be affecting other people. And so I can see both sides. I can see the landowner's rights. You have the right to do what you want with your land, but also I can see the people's problems. I would be very put out, very angry, having to live next to 1,000, 2,000 acres of solar panels and not have any coverage. But I think we covered most of the issues that people brought up. At least we tried to find a happy medium. And so I'm unsure how to balance that because we're supposed to find facts. Even in deciding on regulations, can we put, as much as it is important to the people's feelings, when we represent the people, does that trump our need to find facts? Because
I mean, ultimately,
legal.
if you remember the discussions with Mr. Klopp, it has to be defensible. So, in regard to facts, when push comes to shove, if the lawyers get excited, it has to be defensible.
Yes.
So that's why there has to be, something in the regulation that will, has some backbone to it. How that flushes out, I don't know. Because, like we said earlier in the discussion, we're not lawyers. We're trying to take the pulse of both ourselves, all the information we've gathered for the last year, our interactions with other people, and put that in a big crock pot and come up with a reasonable decision that we think is going to be to the benefit of the county. So my answer is yes and no. Yes, it ultimately has to be defensible in court. No, we don't have to figure that out tonight.
Okay.
And nothing is written in stone as far as stuff coming up again, variations on a theme coming up, setting a different kind of cap or small. But the question for tonight is the general sense of this committee and what we've taken away from the last year of research such that we would be confident that it would be defensible for a total ban. So we're not asking you to come up with how it would be defensible tonight, but your sense would be that it would be defensible.
Okay.
So
And
does that help?
Yes, it does.
I think my earlier statement about, we obviously found when the findings that we found for wind, at some point in time, they were determined to be defensible. Otherwise, we couldn't pass. And stick to my same statement, replace wind with solar. How is that not defensible?
And you weren't here when we did this, but I was one of the people that said repeatedly against your, that it is our purpose to represent the county and do what we think the county wants and what's in the best interest of the county. And so I'm just trying to make sure we're not going to get sued, because personally, I believe that we should follow what the county wants. And we had a very clear opinion on what the county wants. Even if some people didn't show up, they had the option, and they didn't show up. That kind of makes me think that they, even if they're more for it, they don't really care. And so if
Yeah, Elizabeth, we're not out there on an island by ourselves. This is happening all over the country. This pushback's happening everywhere.
yeah,
And, we need to do it legally, you're right.
But
So,
and is it fair to say that ultimately, though, we're just making a recommendation to the commissioners? The
Exactly.
decision's on them. We're not making a decision. We're making a recommendation.
but I believe that what it does, and don't tell me I'm not a lawyer, but I've been in this for quite a while and I've seen things that happen. When it does go to court, they will look at what we've said and what we've decided, what we've used.
Yeah.
Daniel, I would argue that the wind and the solar situations, I don't think you can just swap out one for the other. There were problems with flickering, with the windmills going around, the sunshine through it, and then flickering on a person's house.
And it
There
did,
was noise, there was flying animals, or flying birds going through the windmills. I mean, there's a lot of problems with windmills that just aren't problems with solar power.
To use your words against you, that fits your narrative.
Pardon?
Said to use your words back at you, that fits your narrative.
Okay.
Paul, what's the proper way to call the question?
I don't know, call for a vote.
Yeah.
I don't know the official words.
So I move to call the question.
All right, so,
So we have to get a second for that, and a vote on the following question. And then, if it's in the favorable, then you can go on to a vote.
is there a second that we move
I'll
to?
second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we move on to a vote. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
I
Opposed? It's unanimous. We will move and any member at any time, myself included, can request a roll call vote. And so I do feel like a roll call vote is appropriate tonight. And so just to restate the question, what has been moved and seconded is that we propose to, recommend to the county commissioners a complete ban on commercial solar farms in Linn County.
actually, can I,
Yes.
would it be possible to make a counter motion to ban you, as it is defined here, utility solar, and allow up to 160 acres of commercial solar under the regulations that we've been making?
I think that would just be handled as a separate motion.
Okay.
That we would finish the business on this motion, and that if that's something that you're wanting to do, we can certainly do that.
So first off, you're banning all of it, and then you're coming back and saying, is it
That's
not
what
better to ban?
Well-
Is it not better to say the other first and then come back and ban?
Sorry.
The other parliamentary option is to ask Daniel if he would do a friendly amendment.
Right.
But I think Daniel's gonna do a friendly amendment on this.
Can I ask for a friendly amendment? You changed the word ban to prohibition.
Yes.
All right. So restate the motion.
So instead of industrial solar ban, industrial solar prohibition.
All right. So, so we have, the motion is, here we go. The motion is that we have prohibition on industrial solar in Linn County. Is that clear to everybody? And so we'll do a roll call vote. I'm going to start with Eddie.
Yes.
Rich,
No,
Elizabeth,
Yes.
chair votes yes.
No.
No. Daniel,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 affirmatives, 2 negative. Motion carries.
I got another motion.
Okay. Is it related?
It's really,
Okay.
and it's just again, to cover our P's and Q's as far as the legal is concerned. So I move that Linn County Planning Committee set a public hearing on the proposed prohibition of industrial solar in Linn County, with the planning committee to take comment on and consider all aspects of the proposed amendment at a date and time and place to be voted on and approved by the Linn County Planning Committee. So basically what I'm saying is move it to the next step, to take it to public hearing. For us, this group to decide the time and date and place.
David, does that go before the commissioners make their?
Yes, it does. Yeah, but it doesn't go to the commissioners till we get through the public hearing. We reconvene. We list our findings, and then it goes to the commission. Just like we did the last time.
So that's your motion.
Yep.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded that we move forward with the public hearing on the proposed prohibition, et cetera. Do you want to reread it?
Yeah. Move that the Linn County Planning Committee set a public hearing on the proposed prohibition of industrial solar developments in Linn County, with the planning committee to take comments on and consider all aspects of that proposed amendment at a date and time and place to be voted on and approved by the Linn County Planning Committee.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So under discussion, I don't know where this goes, and it's probably moot, but if you really want to prove your numbers, I still think a scientific study should be done. And that would allow the county to say, hey, this is how it is, and we have a scientific study, not just a public forum. Where did that go?
That would be a separate motion, I believe, but there's nothing wrong with that motion.
Okay, but he
But
made
we
one
need to
right now.
finish this business.
Okay.
So it's been moved and seconded that we move forward with the public hearing on the proposed prohibition. Any discussion on the motion on the table? This would be normal procedure. We're just formalizing it with a motion that I'm not sure we've done before, but that's what Mr. Fisher has decided to do.
Yeah, and my only discussion point is not changing it, but I think we need to go through the same advertisement about this as we did the other one. And do all those same things that we did last time to make sure the public's aware of it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of moving forward with the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay. Can I
Um,
make a motion? Wait for that. For the scientific study.
Hang on just a second. I want to give Darren just any opportunity to interject after our discussion on Monday. Do you have any concerns with the procedures up to this point?
Nothing.
Okay,
The only thing that I was gonna add is the soonest to be thinking about, the soonest that I could publish it would be the 17th, which would be next Wednesday. And it would be, we could do a meeting anytime after the 8th. I've got to publish it for 20 days.
okay, thank you.
Or I'm sorry, 20 days ahead of time. Not 20 consecutive days.
All right, Shawnee.
Okay, in order for the county to better defend the amount of numbers of the people that are against solar, I would like to see a scientific study done.
So that's your motion.
I think so.
So the motion is that in order, that the, in order to better defend the numbers of people that are opposed to commercial solar farms, that the county sanctions scientific study. Do you want to put any time parameters on that or anything?
Well, I think it would need to be done relative, soon before, by the public hearing, right after the public hearing, before, so that the decision that's made after the public hearing would have that to look at.
Okay. So can you restate all that?
You just said it. In order
Well-
to defend the number, saying that the numbers are a reason for prohibiting solar, I think a scientific study needs to be done.
All right, it has been moved that we do a scientific study. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we do a scientific study, recommend a scientific study to the county commissioners. Is there any discussion?
This is really important. I mean, we've worked really, really hard on this and we've had differences of opinion. And it's really a tough issue for the county. I mean, there's just no doubt about that. I mean, you can just see the tension it creates just tonight. And if we've done one thing right all along, I think we've taken our time and we've tried to get all the best information that we can so that we can make an informed decision and represent the views and the best interest of the county, what we do. And I think this just helps us get more information, allows us to make better decisions for the county and its citizens.
I'm just trying to process logistically how this motion plays against the first motion that already passed.
Right?
And I get the only way that I see it working would be if we make our recommendation to the commissioners and they don't accept it, that our recommendation would be that at that point, they do a scientific study.
So are you concerned with the scientific study? will show?
I'm not at all. I just don't know logistically how we just put a ban on it. We voted to put a ban on it. Now we're saying we want to do a scientific study.
Well, but we're having a public hearing. We're still doing a public hearing where we're gonna make a decision. So why can't we do a scientific study too?
I'm not saying we can't.
The ban's not.
I'm just trying to think.
until it's voted on the final vote.
Yeah.
And so until then, we're finding our findings. I think that would be included in our findings.
I also
Right.
think it's unrealistic to think it's gonna be done by that date that Darren said. Because first it's gotta go to the commissioners, they gotta approve to do it. Then we gotta find a company to do it, and then it's gotta be done. I just don't think there's enough time.
There's.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt,
Go ahead.
the public hearing doesn't have to be done. I
Okay.
just got
That's the
to,
soonest.
Okay,
that's the soonest.
I-
I just wanted to throw out a date that could be the soonest, we can have the public hearing. If we got permission to do scientific survey, find a company to do it, get them hired, get it done. And, I mean, we could have the public hearing in the process, but we would have to wait for the results.
And they, the amount of people they survey is random and it's not that big of a amount. So, I think it would give a better view of what's going on.
I think if we have the option, we should include more people.
Right. I think we should, like double the amount of people that they normally do or something.
Well, it has to be scientific, it has to,
That's, that's their job.
has to be taken that represents the larger population.
Right.
That's what scientific studies do.
I mean, but that usually they base it on, a certain percentage, but we could ask the percentage to be higher,
personally, I would rather, if we're gonna go this path, I would rather do a county vote. That way everyone feels like they had their say.
As well.
What's gonna happen is we do a scientific study, there's gonna be so many people say, no one called me, I didn't get to participate in that. And then you're still gonna have this group of people, one way or the other, saying they don't feel like they were represented.
We're gonna stay
Regardless of the fact that I understand what you said earlier about how it's a proven,
As long as it's a stratified random sample, it will represent
That's right.
the views of the larger population.
I understand you say that. I also understand that the average person is gonna say, I didn't get a say in that. Regardless of if you have facts to support it, that's a random sampling and it would represent.
We're gonna have the same problem with that. We're gonna have.
Absolutely. They're gonna say that I did not have a say in this.
And that wouldn't matter as far as the account or the people doing that survey. They take this random bunch of folks and they survey them, pick them out. If you call you and they don't get you, they'll call the neighbor or something. They'll get a response. And that's how they operate. It's not about, I was left out of the survey. Maybe you were called and you didn't answer.
But Daniel, what you're pointing out is the need to educate. We just need to
Yeah.
educate.
All right, so
Information is always good. It's good to have. I think it's, needs to be put off for a little while until we get through some of this on the survey. Put it back some. After.
So.
wait, could you just say that again?
I'm just saying, let's get through the vote, let's get through what we're doing here for the commissioners, and then we'll do the survey, right? Or if the commissioners decide,
You're saying after the hearing,
yes,
do the survey after the hearing? I'm asking you a question.
that's what I thought.
Well, anytime during that process, a survey could be done between now and the hearing, right after the hearing, during a 3-week process, that could be done in that period.
So, yeah.
Another thing, the commission, us, and the commissioners would want that scientific study done before the commissioners take a vote.
I mean, to me, that would show in court, this is what we based our facts on.
And I realize that's gonna take more time, but you know what? We've always said from the very beginning, let's do this thing right, let's don't do it fast. And even the opposition has said that, well, many times, let's do it, let's take the time to do it right.
So you have to get a survey done, you have to go to the commissioners to get their approval.
Right.
The hearing, we don't. The hearings are here, right? Darren?
Yes.
So this would be something that you'd have to go to the commissioners and get their approval.
And if they want to have a good example, then they can do that. If they don't, they won't.
Who decides what type of survey, how many, all the details of that?
I would say that's the work of this commission.
Yeah, I would bet if you ask the commissioners, they're gonna put you back on us to figure that out too.
More Wednesday night meetings.
Well, I think basically after you interview the company, you pick the company and find out what they're gonna do, find out what they're gonna do, it's up to them. So,
So we could bring them in to our meeting in a work session and tell them what we want to find out and let them develop the questions and then we approve the questions.
right.
What's that generally cost, Rich? You have any idea?
It's pretty wide range from when we talked about this the first time. But is there any more discussion? I mean, I don't have anything to add. So, well, I will say this. I think that information would inform any amendment to the comprehensive plan. I don't know about the timing of all the sequence of events, but I do think that data would be helpful. I mean, the comprehensive plan, we didn't even have to look at until January again. So I don't feel like that's an urgent thing, but I think that would be the best use of any scientific data that we gather would be to include it in the comprehensive plan. I'm confident that it will reflect, the sense that we've gotten up to this point of our discussions. So anyway, any more discussion?
I think it complicates the process that we've been working on. We've got a forum to lean on that was overwhelming against solar. I think despite Rich's trust in the survey, and I respect his opinion on this, I think the average Joe does not believe in surveys, just like they don't believe in polls. That's why they go vote. So I think it's going to complicate the process and drag it out longer than we need to go. I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think the county is going to trust it. So I'm against it.
So it's basically what all the school districts and things use when they do election. Or if they don't do it, then their election fails a lot of times because they don't run an election if they find out from the public that it's not going to pass. So, I think that it would give everybody an idea of how everybody feels in the county.
All right, any more discussion? All right, it's been moved and seconded that we recommend to the county commissioners a scientific study. Let's go ahead with a roll call vote again. So,
No.
Rich,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
chair votes no. Charlene,
Yes.
Daniel,
No.
Morgan, David.
No,
We have 1, 2, 3. Yes, this is the hardest part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no's. Motion does not carry. All right. Is there any more business for this evening?
Let's talk just a little bit about our path forward to where we're clear. So, Darren's going to go to the commissioners on Monday and talk to them about the forum that we need to have, or the public hearing.
public hearing, well, I understand, it. Public hearings are.
Oh, we don't even need
We-
to, okay.
We own it.
Sorry, I was confused on that. Okay, so we'll just handle setting that whole thing up. You'll start the advertisement for it and
Yeah, I just need to know how soon you want to do it, because I have to have the notification to the newspaper by Tuesday mornings to be published on Wednesday.
do we feel like we need to go to Prairie View again to have this, or?
So I can,
I think so. I mean,
Might as
you
well.
gotta give.
I can reach out tomorrow. I can, find out what we can do. Send that information out in an email, and I just need a consensus. Prairie View's gonna give me a date, or probably a couple of dates. I can send that information out. You can send back to me what date the majority can be there. We'll pick that date, and then I can determine when I need to send the notification out.
I thought the venue and the process worked very, very well the last time. And I think to keep it organized with the clock and everything, I think we need to set similar rules and just follow the same guidelines we followed last time. Is that
Exactly.
okay?
Exactly. I guess I wasn't prepared to talk about a date yet. I think that, we need to give the date some real thought. Is there a way we can collaborate on the date? My motion says it's to be voted on by the committee. Is there a date, there a way we can collaborate on the date before the next meeting?
Not with a vote, unless we call a special meeting, and I've got to give 10 days notice for a special meeting. So I don't know if you want to change your motion.
Well, I think the
Or
dates.
vote on.
What's everybody else feel about the date? I mean,
I think it should be.
I don't want to rush into it. I guess I'm concerned that if we rush into it, we're not going to get it right. It needs to be right.
I don't disagree with that. I think the date's going to be heavily dependent on what Prairie View offers. So maybe we just say it needs to be at least so many 45 days, 60 days, whatever out. And Darren can try to find some dates.
We're getting into May, so that's the end of the school year, so that auditorium is
Yeah.
probably going to be busy.
There was some thought by the commissioners of using the second courtroom as well for a larger meeting. Did they ever go to that?
Nothing's ever been said about it. Not anymore, anyway.
Okay.
What do you, Paul, what do you think on that?
I think we're really at the mercy of the school if that's the venue we want, unless we want to pick a different venue.
Well, that venue works really well though.
Yeah.
And there's, that staff is so helpful. They just allowed us to have a really, really good meeting. I can give it Prairie View and work with them as best they can, and they're working good people, so I know that.
I agree with you, Richard. So,
So the date will just have to remain TBD until we get some feedback from them. As far as what's going to fit within the parameters of public notice, when the window is that they're open, as far as availability.
I mean, we're looking at the soonest is the 8th of May. Our next meeting's the 14th of May. So I could ask for dates after May 14th and we could vote on it.
let's do that.
Yeah.
So am I correct though that until we know the venue, time, date, all that, you really can't advertise it, right?
Correct.
So that even though the earliest you could advertise it the 17th, we won't be able to advertise it till the 22nd of May. So and then you need 20 days after that for it to happen, right?
Yeah, I can advertise it any Wednesday. So
Yeah, I'm just saying if we wait till the next meeting to decide on the date, then you're into the 22nd is the following Wednesday to be able to advertise it. Then you're 20 days after that. So
this is in the 1st of June.
yeah, school's out of session by then, so I'm sure it's open.
Should be pretty open.
Yeah.
All right. So barring further information from Darren and from the school, is there any other stuff that we need to discuss tonight?
It doesn't mean you can't share dates, possible dates before we get together and vote.
Right.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's patience. I appreciate your input. I appreciate the good discussion. Everyone is just I have 100% confident in all 9 of us that we have the best interest of the county in mind. I don't think there's anyone here that hasn't invested significant amounts of time over the last over a year in regard to these things. So I just appreciate that, and I just want to publicly appreciate that. Thank you all for your patient listening.
And Paul, let me echo those things in that sentence. I mean, I've always said that wise people were different. And we differ, but you know, we get some wise people to approach knowledge. And that's really the strength of what we've got here. So I echo what you're saying.
Anyhow, if nothing else, we'll call this meeting adjourned.
Okay, that's very good.